Cutting my brother's 3B3C, low porosity, very high density, very coarse hair, and we had some company with us. He was a little late getting home, but he desperately needed a haircut, so I made it work. Normally, I cut the length dry and then I will cut his layers wet the same way I do mine. But then I realized he never wears his hair straight, so there was no need for me to do that. I decided to attempt a full dry cut this time, but first I started off with kind of consulting him with what he wanted. Lengthwise, is there a length that you wanted at, Dylan?
No, literally just trim.
Just a trim?
Like, I just need it trimmed so it's not like, fuck. Because remember, I'm still growing it out.
Yeah, but
I'm trying to grow,
I feel like to grow it out, you also need more, we need to be more consistent with the cuts. I haven't cut it since like November.
I have to, but it's probably long enough to donate, no?
If you're doing it from your scalp right now.
That's what I'm saying. I need to trim it so it'll grow a little longer.
I feel like you need to trim now, and we'll need to trim in like another 4 months just to keep it healthy.
And then come next year, it'll be able to cut.
Yeah, I feel like next year you can donate it. But if you want it to be long and healthy, like you've got a lot of, like it's just, based on what you're telling me as well, it's fried. I started off by cutting the length. I really took minimal off. I would recommend if you're doing a dry cut, you want to do it on freshly washed hair or maybe day 2 max, and you want it to be styled the way you would normally style it. That way it's going to show how the curl pattern with the shrinkage after you styled it with some products in it, where it would actually sit. Where right now I'm cutting his hair on like day 7, day 8 hair. He just came from the gym. You can see how undefined it is, everything. But he trusts me. He also doesn't care that much about the length. He just wanted it to be a little bit trimmed, little bit of shape, and then his goal is to grow it to a certain length so he can donate it maybe sometime in the next year or two. So that's kind of where we're at. So I'm just roughly going through, I'm taking as little as I can off from the bottom. I'm just kind of wanting to keep everything even for him. He normally, when he styles his hair, he does not like anything very fluffy, very voluminous. He's the complete opposite to me. He likes his hair to be very defined, very tame. Because of that, I'm always very mindful as to how I'm cutting it. I want to give him layers because regardless of whether you're styling your hair for volume or definition, you still want your hair to have a nice shape to it. So I will always give him layering, but the way that his hair falls, it still has such a beautiful shape. So I've started off, I parted his hair down the middle, and right now I'm sectioning off the back section to do last, and I'm working on the front. So I parted the front area from the back of his ear and I connected that up to the middle part. And then I'm taking one side at a time and I'm splitting that in 2 horizontal sections. I'm starting at the bottom of his hair because, again, this was my first time doing it dry. He's not very picky when it comes to layering. His hair sits so well and easy for him every single time. If we were very concerned about the layering on top, I would have started with the top section first and then worked my way down. But for me, I wanted to make sure the length was where he wanted it, so that is why I'm working bottom up. I worked on that bottom section first, and as you can see, everything I'm doing is still on an angle. So as much as he doesn't style for volume, I'm still cutting on an angle. I don't want any blunt layers, especially with his hair being so thick and easily poofy the way that it is. If you cut blunt layers, it's just going to make it look like a shelf. It's just going to sit there. And so everything that I'm doing, always cutting on an angle. So you saw the front section split from the ear up to the middle part. 2 vertical sections worked from the bottom up because I'm trying to maintain length for him. And I'm just doing very small layers, cutting everything on an angle. This is me now working on the top horizontal section of this side. I'm taking the shortest piece from the bottom section that I just cut, and I am using that as like a marker so that when I'm cutting the top section that I'm working on right now, I'm blending everything to the shortest piece of the bottom section. So again, it's just making sure that all the layers stay connected, cascading, and it just gives that beautiful shape. I am doing each of these horizontal sections, I'm splitting them into 2 vertical sections so they almost look like 2 little squares. And I'm working in like 1 to 2 inch sections. It just makes it more manageable, and that way you're not missing anything. Just in this quick snip, you can see one side being a little more layered and just nicer shape versus the other side that I'm about to cut now. And I'm showing you from a different angle. So I'm sectioning off the other side right up to behind his ear, and then I'm leaving the back to last. I'm starting from the bottom up because I've already cut the length, so I want to connect whatever top layering I'm doing to the length of the hair rather than starting at the top, because he doesn't really care for the short layering on top and super voluminous look regardless. So I've sectioned the first horizontal section from the bottom. He also has that fade towards the bottom, like closer to his ear, so it looks like it's kind of starting a little bit higher up on his head, and that's the reason why. As you can see, I'm starting the bottom section. I've split that into two, so it's like a 1.5 inch square that I'm starting on, and I am angling my fingers before I cut. I'm angling it on like an upward angle, so that way when I start the layer above that, again, that's I'm blending everything to that. It's gonna give that rounded shape that I'm talking about. So now I'm working the next section up. I'm splitting that into two as well. So it's like 3 horizontal sections, and now I'm working in the first small square. Doesn't matter whether you start at the back or the front for these. I'm doing someone else's hair, so it doesn't matter. I'm taking a section from the bottom layer that I just did so that I can blend up exactly how I said before. And I'm angling my fingers up because I know I have another layer on top that I'm going to have to do. And remember, I don't want those shelf layers. I don't want the blunt cut. This is the front square. Now I'm working the top layer, taking the front section. It's like a 1 inch square, taking a little bit from the layer right below it and blending everything to that layer as like my benchmark. Now I'm working at the back. I'm going to section off, keep everything very neat. Everything's already parted. I'm going to clip off the front area that I just cut so it doesn't get in the way. But as you could see, I was taking one little small section from the top layer there so that I can blend the back. We want the back to look just as good as the front. And in order to do that, you need to have a benchmark the exact same way we did with the other layering. So I'm just parting it. I know this part always hurts him, especially the fact that he didn't want me to detangle it first and his hair is not clean. So yeah, this part was not fun. You should have heard him screaming. But yeah, I am starting from the bottom the exact same way that I did on either side. I'm starting from the bottom and working my way up so that I am connecting everything to the length, and started at the bottom horizontal section, and I'm just doing 1 inch sections going from one side to the next, cutting on an angle, making sure my fingers are angled, and I'm kind of just keeping that same angle straight across so that everything remains even. And before I do the next section above it, I'm taking a little piece from down below. So again, it blends to the layer right above. It's really just a repeated process the entire way. If I was doing a cut on someone that wanted a completely different shape, or maybe they styled it differently, maybe they style it for less definition and they want more volume, they like the more fluffy, big look, I might cut it a little bit differently. But again, he wants his curls to be so defined. So to me, the shape is a lot more important there because it's going to be a little less forgiving than when you're styling for volume. I think one key takeaway that I would really want to highlight in all of this is how important it is to find a stylist that understands your hair. Not everyone's hair should be treated the same because everyone's hair is different and everyone's styling preference is also different. And I think that makes a big difference when you are going for a haircut. I tried quite a few curly hairstylists before I found one that I loved. The only reason I'm doing DIY stuff right now is because I'm trying to save a couple pennies. But at the end of the day, having a good stylist, one that you trust and one that understands your hair, makes such a difference. Someone like my brother, his hair needs a different care than what my hair needs. And there were so many stylists that I had gone to that were treating mine like as if it was his, and my hair wasn't turning out. So it's really, really important to take that time, do that research, or if you're feeling confident, do it yourself at home. And I'm hopefully I can continue to help.
I don't look angry. I don't look angry. I'm
Okay,
just.
turn to one side. Wow. Turn to the other side. The final step for his hair was the little bit of fine tuning that needed to be done at the end. Because remember, he came, was not on styled hair. So now seeing the finished product after it's been washed and styled, you can see any little touch ups, any little extra curls that might fall differently once they're actually styled. So this touch up is super important. I hope you guys found this video helpful as well. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and I will see you in 2 weeks, lovelies.